That's my tomorrow. Hey, what you got planned?
You know Pam, right? She wants me to go to the movies with her.
Oh, come on, man, come on. Go with her. Get off of this hellhole. You might be glad you did. Hi, my name is David Shackelford. The reason why I became interested in this particular story is because the 50 men who did stand up, their story was untold. And like many stories that need to be told, this is one of them. It just wasn't an African-American story, but it was also an American story and a military story. A lot of people don't know about the story. And so what my job and what I feel that I need to do is write it and act it and tell it in a way that people are inspired. Inspired for change, inspired to think, inspired just to know about their history and American history.
I'm Daryl Phillip. I play Fry in Port Chicago. I didn't know about the story, the true story, until I did the production. And it's sad, it's tragic what these men had to go through, because these men signed up to go fight the Nazis. And they thought they were going to go overseas and fight for their country and defend their country. And they were stuck in a shipyard unloading bombs. It was very dangerous, and they were insulted. The people that made the bombs wrote racial epithets on the bombs. So when they unloaded them, that's what they were met with. And they weren't treated well at all. And so I can understand why they would reject the situation. And who can blame me?
Some of the incidents and things, the way things were in 1944, as far as segregation and injustice, I'd say today we still have that systematic idealism of injustice. It's not as blatant as it was in 1944, but it's still there.
You know what disgrace look like, huh? To walk around with all that shame on your head? My daddy walked around like that. His daddy walked around like that. And I'll be damned if I walk around like that.
In this play called Port Chicago, I play Rudy Rutherford, and I'm C.J. Dickinson. One thing that I learned about doing Port Chicago, I understand the importance of knowing different aspects of American history, not just Black history, but American history as a whole. There's a lot of untold stories that we don't even know of. I think the most thing that I've actually taken away from, I no longer say the N-word, so I don't no longer call my boys niggas or this or that, because I fully understood by doing this play the hurt and the pain behind that one word. And people just say it's just a word, but doing this play and actually living as these people in 1944, I understand that it wasn't just a word to a lot of people. It really was something to basically put you down and hold you down. So I no longer say that word at all.
Hi, my name's Howard Lockey. I play Captain Harvey, and he is the base commander at the Port Chicago Naval Munitions Loading Depot. But one fundamental thing is, when giving myself to the role to begin the play, I'm not going to hold back, because that's just the way it was in '44, and I don't believe it's really up to me to judge this guy. So I don't judge him. He's doing his thing, and he does it his way, and other people do it their way.
Just like you, sweating, hurting, just like you. But I didn't ask for no special privileges. I never asked for nothing. I'm a black man just like you, but at least I'm willing to stand up for myself.
Hey, I'm Orrin Williams, and I play Spencer.
And Spencer is one of the characters. He's a Navy soldier, and he has a big chip on his shoulder. He's moving his way up the ranks, but when he gets there, he deals with a lot of opposition, because people think that he thinks he's better than everybody because of the hair and his demeanor and everything. So he's constantly trying to prove himself that he's just as good as everybody else, and that he works as hard as everybody else, and that he gets no special privileges or any kind of handouts. So he's constantly working with that chip on his shoulder and on the grind to prove himself.
I played Freddie Meeks in Port Chicago 50. Freddie Meeks, he was more of an older brother to the men, kind of the leader, if you will. And he was kind of the guy that a lot of the men went to advice for and talk about their dreams and hopes and fears and things like that. And he kind of would talk to them about things. So that's kind of how they looked up to him. That's who my character is.
Actually, Rudy is someone who has to basically deal with a problem. Whereas, do he stick with his brothers in this fight or this strife, or do he continue to live his life as a family man? So it's basically family against, his brothers that he has also love for, but in the end he feels that he has to kind of like choose his family over everything, which sometimes in life that's usually what happens. A lot of times you have to choose one thing over the other, what's more important. So he's angry, he's mean as hell, he don't take no crap from anyone, not even the white counterparts. He gives a little back talk in that sense also.
My name is Matt Jennings, and I play the role of Benny in Port Chicago 50. Benny is actually 16, but he is trying to put off that he is in his 20s. I think the best way to describe him is actually a line that the character of Betty, a line that she has in the show. She says, "He's just a boy trying to live in a man's world." I think that Benny, following the death of his mother, is trying to find out what it means to be a man in this world that is without his mother, who he has known all of his life. And I think that joining the military, going to Port Chicago is, at least for that time, his answer. I think that there is a stubborn, and it's a healthy, there's a healthy stubbornness in his optimism, in his life, his ambition to have that American dream, which he will never stop fighting for.
He is concerned with getting the job done as quickly as possible, loading as much ammunition as possible to get on the boats out to Japan, and he's all business and real Navy person through and through, career Navy officer.
The parallel between me and Freddie would be the older brother part. I am an older brother, so I have that kind of wisdom that Freddie gives off to the other men. I'd say that's probably the parallel between me and him, is the wisdom that we've lived life, and so we try to give the best advice that we can give.
I love playing him because I understand that struggle as well, in everyday living.
I've learned that there's always something new that you find in your character daily, whether you're rehearsing the scenes or the lines on your own, or if you're rehearsing the play on stage with the rest of the cast. There's always something new that you're finding out. I think more and more I learn that it's so much, the production and the play is so much about the cast and the crew and everyone involved as a whole working together. Because if one is weak, then it all falls apart. So it is so much about it being a community. The community is what makes the production happen.
And I would love to see us go for 2 months to a major market, a major theater market, and I'd like to see it also go to even more Caucasian audiences and share this story, because I believe it can be as informative for people to see what was going on behind the scenes in the Navy in the 40s as it is for the African American Black community to have 50 people that were really courageous and demonstrated their courage by not loading ammunition anymore. So I'd love to see us go to a major market. I'd love to go to Europe.
I definitely see Port Chicago 50 on Broadway one day because of the story and because it's such a a tale that's swept under the rug. No one knows about it. Every show we do, someone always comes up and says, I had no idea about this. I didn't know about this. You know, why didn't we learn this in school? So it's one of those stories that every time we perform it, someone's going to be enlightened to the situation that happened back in 44. And they're going to have their eyes open to the story, and then you can be able to connect that to the way you know, stuff is swept under the rug nowadays. You know, back, you know, in a couple decades, we may hear about more things that come out that were swept under the rug. So this can be a stepping stone to other great stories that were swept under the rug and that should be told.
In the future, I see Port Chicago going to Broadway. I see Port Chicago being a full-length film, much like Hidden Figures. I see Port Chicago going around the world, and people knowing what this story is about and knowing what this story is. I see it changing lives.